the State of Palestine took an important and historic step towards justice for the Palestinian people.
It's the first time Palestine has formally referred anything to the International Criminal Court, and many say it's long overdue. The decision comes after more than 60 Palestinian protesters were killed by the Israeli army. Rights groups have called the event a massacre, but Israel says it was simply protecting its border against terrorists. The Palestinian Authority has submitted what it says is proof of crimes against them, but the Israeli government says the referral is legally invalid as the ICC has no jurisdiction over the issue. Well, one of Benjamin Netanyahu's staunchest critics in Israel is Ehud Barak. He used to serve as defense minister under Netanyahu and was previously prime minister himself. His former chief of staff, Gilead Sher, was with him during his time in office and joins us now from Tel Aviv. Sir, great pleasure having you here on The Newsmakers. Thank you very much for joining us. So the Palestinians want Israel to face justice at the ICC. Let's park off the legalities or illegalities of whether it can actually happen. Israel hasn't signed up to the Rome Statute and so on and so forth. But in terms of moral justification, does the shoe fit? Should Israel be held accountable for potential war crimes, especially vis-a-vis what happened in Gaza recently?
Not at all whatsoever. If you follow the statements by the heads of Hamas, for instance, Bardawil and Yahya Sinwar, they admitted that the vast majority of the so-called popular protesters and demonstrators were Hamas terrorists. Bardawil said that on the 14th, this bloody day that was the bloodiest day in the clashes, 50 out of 62 people killed were Hamas activists, and the other Hamas leader, Sinwar, admitted that more than 60 persons were Hamas activists and Hamas members.
But does being a Hamas activist...
give me a break. You know, these were not popular. These were not popular demonstrations.
Allow me to ask then: does being a Hamas activist, unarmed, walking towards the border, mean that you deserve to die?
They were armed.
All of them?
Sir, they were armed.
All of them?
Sir, most of them were armed. Most of them were armed. And believe me, there's no other country in the world that would have acted differently when the borders are going to be infringed or violated by terrorists.
Okay.
So you know, I very much and really deeply regret the loss of
You're in lockstep with Netanyahu. It's interesting.
Of innocent people, but these were not the innocent people.
Okay, it's interesting. I mean, you're making a blanket. You're making a blanket statement.
You want to interview me, or you want to interview yourself?
Let me ask you about what your defense minister said.
Would you like to interview yourself? It's fine with me.
No, I'm
but
asking
if you want to ask me, you should listen to my answers.
I'm listening to your answer. I'm extracting the essence of it, and I'm adding to it now. If you don't mind, your defense minister, Avigdor Lieberman. And again, this is interesting to me because you're not a fan of Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't think you're a big fan of your defense minister, Avigdor Lieberman, but I think you fully agree with the current policy with regards Gaza. You mentioned Hamas's statements to us. I'm going to mention Avigdor Lieberman's statements to you. When he said, there are no innocent people in Gaza, we take that statement, and we take the fact that 60 people were killed in 24 hours and more than 2,500 were wounded. Are you not telling me there's grounds for investigation there because there seems to be motive to kill whoever moves towards the border? Is there not?
I beg to differ with the statement that there are no innocent people in Gaza. The population there suffers from out of the fact that most of the humanitarian aid and the assistance provided to Gazans, to the civilian society in Gaza, has been channeled to in order to dig terror tunnels and to provide the Hamas with more and more ammunition and weapons that were pointed at the Israeli civilian society and centers. But the equation for me is very simple. The equation for me is humanitarian aid, rehabilitation of Gaza, revisiting whatever could be done in terms of alleviation of all kinds of restrictions, etc., and a lot of assistance and medical aid to the society and to the civilians. However, the other part of this equation is no violence, no terrorism, no incitement against Israel and against Jews. That's the equation. It's very simple. And Israel, believe me or not, but Israel, with this current government, will act according to this equation.
Okay. Let me ask you about the settlements that were approved just today, Thursday. 2,500 more West Bank settlements, illegal under international law. The Defense Minister, again, Avigdor Lieberman, approving of those. Is that wrong?
Look, I believe that the right way to pursue at least the attempt to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not looking into what this party does or that party does.
But okay,
because both of them
we can do that with Hamas as well.
Heading towards a.
We can do that with Hamas as well. We can't solve the problem.
Would not provide any good.
Certainly. I'm asking you if it's wrong to build settlements.
I'm not talking about Hamas. The representative.
Is it wrong to build settlements?
I heard your question, and I think that the two parties should go should try and attempt to be facilitated by whoever there is to facilitate such a dialogue. Should pursue a dialogue between them, should pursue a negotiation towards ending this conflict, or at least subsiding the violence, the incitement, and the unilateral acts that this or that party does. I believe that that this should be complied with by both parties, and I include Israel in that.
Is it wrong for the Netanyahu government to build settlements, to continue to build illegal settlements? Yes or no, sir?
I believe that within the large settlement blocks that are adjacent to the 1967 borders, and of course in the Jewish neighborhoods in Jerusalem, wherever they are, Israel should be capable, able, and allowed to build, construct, enlarge whatever it wishes to do, because this will be under any eventual agreement between Israelis and the Palestinians. This would be part and parcel of Israel proper. So I believe that there should be a differentiation between what we do within the settlement, the large settlement blocks, which comprise or encompass more than 80% of the settlers altogether, and the other settlements that should be negotiated within a negotiation process between Israelis and Palestinians, hopefully facilitated by the international community, namely the Quartet, if you wish, the United States, Russia, the EU, and the UN.
Okay, so I take that as a possibly, but with caveats, but not a no. Gilead Sher, we're out of time. I appreciate you coming on to the Newsmakers. Thank you very much for joining us.